Move on, let's talk about J.K. Rowling. So it says, Warner Brothers stands by J.K. Rowling after reporter blocked from asking question about her. Do not take this to mean that they are like, we're pro J.K. Rowling's beliefs on transgenderism. This is basically J.K. Rowling has the greatest publishing deal in the history of the world, and she makes them a crap ton of money, so they're going to stand by the person who makes them a crap ton of money. And that's fine. So it says, Warner Brothers has stood by J.K. Rowling after an external PR rep acting on behalf of the studio told Sky News that the company was, quote, not connected to the author. The studio issued the response following a spat between Sky News and the PR representative who blocked the outlet from asking Harry Potter actor Tom Felton about J.K. Rowling during a press event in London last week. Felton was taking part in an event around the expansion of the Warner Brothers studio tour London, the making of Harry Potter attraction. The actor who played Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter film franchise unveiled Professor Sprout's greenhouse, a fan favorite set from the films, which will be a permanent addition to the attraction. So he's on basically promo detail right now. Let's imagine that those movies ended like 10 years ago and the actors are still like doing I'm sure making beyond the residuals, are making money for these types of appearances. I can't imagine the amount of income. So it says, in an interview, a Sky News reporter asked Felton about Rowling, who has faced backlash for comments about the trans community and who was notably absent from Return to Hogwarts, the HBO Max documentary special marking the 20th anniversary of the Harry Potter franchise. So yeah, they did like a 20th anniversary get together, like all the stars were in it, retrospectives and all this stuff. And curiously missing was the person who literally made all of this possible, because she's what an activist would call a trans exclusionary radical feminist. I don't know if I would put her in that label, because she does not.
We don't care what she thinks about transgender ideology. We don't care.
And most normal people don't either.
Yeah, only the people in Hollywood who are entrenched in all of this would even think to hold a grudge over it. But like, it's so self-centered that these actors think that they're the ones who like created this franchise.
Yeah, and we're going to get to what
they think they own it
said.
or something.
Yeah, it says at this point, it says, you and the other stars of the film are still very much the face of the franchise, if you like. We speak to you and hear from you guys. J.K. Rowling obviously has some sort of backseat now. Is it strange for her not being around a thing like this? At this point, an external PR executive hired for the event, who is not a Warner Brothers employee, cut in and said, next question, please. They're trying to keep her name out of it because they don't want these questions about, like that most likely is a lead-in question that gets her name in the discussion, and then from there they can add the question about, and what do you think about what J.K. Rowling thinks about transgenderism? And that's, so it's like it's a way to sneak the question in there with a more innocuous one to start. It says, in a statement shared with Variety, Warner Brothers stood by its long-standing relationship with Rowling. And here's the statement. It says, Warner Brothers has enjoyed a creative, productive, and fulfilling partnership with J.K. Rowling for the past 20 years. She is one of the world's most accomplished storytellers, and we are proud to be the studio to bring her vision, characters, and stories to life now and for decades to come. Decades to come. Sorry about that. On Monday, a statement was issued by a third-party media agency that appeared contrary to this view. The statement was wholly wrong, and Warner Brothers Studio London regrets it happened as part of a media event that day. The greenhouse expansion opens for Warner Brothers Studio, blah, blah, blah. So the idea here is like that cut-in from that PR rep made it seem like they didn't want her to be mentioned. And that person is not an employee of it's a third party hire who is, I don't know if that was done on purpose as a way to give them deniability for that.
Do you think this is a case of a source close to the situation?
Well, this is a real press release here. The one at the end, this isn't like a source. This is an actual press release from Warner Brothers, the long one that I just read at the end there. But the end here, it's simple. She has the greatest deal in publishing history. She is the reason why YA authors now get almost nothing in comparison to what she got, because every publisher wants to treat every new book and every new author as if that's going to be the next Harry Potter. You are not, if you're in publishing now, if you're a young YA author, you're not getting a deal that includes theme park rights. You're signing that away the moment you take that advance, right? So she's kept on to all of that. Anything that has her name on it, she gets a cut of. That type of deal is unheard of now.
But it's kind of ridiculous that other writers are held to the standard of your work is going to be the next Harry Potter. When
I know, right?
In reality, it's it's just literally not. You can't replicate that level
Nope.
of fanfare.
I don't know if, I mean, when you talk about the idea of like what is a cultural phenomenon, it was a cultural phenomenon. I don't know if
It's
there
not
has
going to happen
been.
again.
I don't know if there has been. Is there anything that you would think of has been close to that level of cultural importance as far as media since then? You could say superheroes have become.
As far as young adult novels
yeah.
turning into film franchises, I mean, maybe Hunger Games.
No,
Not
not
really
that level.
even.
Not that
yeah.
level.
Still not
But
that level.
I see what you mean. Like that would be the closest, something like the
It was
closest
pretty
thing.
big considering, but still.
You can't construct
that's-
it. It might happen again, but you really can't construct it. You can't plan on
No.
it happening
And
again.
it won't come
And I
from
don't
that
think
genre.
that I don't think that authors should be, indirectly punished for the deal that she got.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the studio just hedging their bets. Like, we don't
Yeah,
know
I
if it's going to,
understand that.
we don't know if you're going to reach that level of fame. But just in case you do, you're not getting theme park money that we're getting. You're not getting toy money that you're getting. It makes me it makes me miss Bill Watterson. Do you remember Calvin and Hobbes?
Oh, yeah.
Never sold out and never turned Hobbes into an actual doll. Never allowed them to make a Hobbes
Oh.
tiger doll.
Interesting.
For out of artistic
Even to this
integrity
day?
to this day. Yep. Doesn't allow them. If you see one, it is counterfeit. They don't allow that to be made because he believed that the art was the most important part of that. And that because it makes it corporeal. Like if you do it, it makes it real. And the idea is that you don't know as an adult, like to the parents, Hobbes is not real. To Calvin, it is real. But if you make it a doll, then it is forever a doll. And he didn't want to do that to the art.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that.
I kind of love it. I mean, it
I mean,
reminds
it's
me.
cool when you compare it to the consumerist
Yeah.
hell that we live in with everything else.
And you can still, I guess the idea here is he had a lot of reverence for the art form of comic strips, right? He wanted you to, to take in the art as it was, and not turn it into something like the stickers of like Calvin peeing on a logo. Those are all counterfeit too. You're not allowed. He doesn't allow that to be marketed out. Etsy has a huge black market of like Calvin and Hobbes stuff that's vaguely Calvin and Hobbes. So it is weird.
Now we see like toys aren't an afterthought.
Nope.
They're written into the stories.
Every Disney, like make no mistake about it, Grogu, Baby Yoda,
Yeah.
is designed to be a toy.
And then
Toy
the cat
Story.
in Lightyear.
So-
Toy
Socks.
Story was a movie
And
about
Toy
toys.
Story.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, talk about
yeah.
art meeting life,
But they made that character of Socks, the cat from the new Lightyear movie, and you look
Yeah.
at something like that, you're like, there's no way that was not made because some dude in your marketing department's like, and the toys will
and
be
it's
fantastic.
not even a cute cat.
No, it's not. So, and so what's interesting about this is you read those comments, you see how they block Tom Felton from talking, and then we have this article's from like about a week ago. It says, Emma Watson will return to Harry Potter if J.K. Rowling isn't involved.
The self-indulgent attitude, it's insane to me. Like, I first got whiff that this was happening because I saw a tweet that said, J.K. Rowling invented Emma Watson.
She literally
She made Emma Watson Emma Watson.
She breathed her into life as a celebrity. And it's also, the other thing that's funny about this is basically she says, if you go through here, her idea here is basically, I will do it. Do you have it pointed out? I wanted to find the actual comment she made. Watson made a
let's
comment
see.
at the BAFTAs earlier this year that many took to be directed at J.K. Rowling. Watson was arriving on stage to present an award with fellow actor Rebel Wilson, joked that Hermione Granger, the Hermione Granger actor, calls herself a feminist, but we all know she's a witch. In a comment that is a bit iffy in itself, Watson replied, I'm here for all the witches, which was taken as with internet discord as a tacit disagreement with J.K. Rowling's public beliefs on transgender individuals. Since the end of the original 8 movies, basically the idea here is that she's also worked with Disney, and this is where I take issue with her saying that she won't work with Rowling. She works with Disney, who we all know has concentration camps that have imprisoned members of the Uyghur Muslim population in China, subjected them to forced abortion, and all sorts of ridiculous human rights abuse.
Disney owns.
Disney, no, they worked with the government of China and filmed the movie of Mulan like right over by those camps, and the people who ran those camps had to be involved in that process because they have to be aware of who's shooting in locations close to them, and they thanked them in the credits to Mulan. So Disney has no problem filming movies with China, and to be fair, making movies for a Chinese audience, which I still want to call out whenever that stuff is. When you release stuff in China, you're tacitly approving of what the CCP is doing over there.
It'd be like releasing stuff in Nazi Germany.
Yes.
You'd be tacitly approving of the
So
Nazis.
she will work with Disney, who has a long history of working with countries with human rights abuses, but will no longer work with the woman who made her famous because she said things she disagrees with on the internet.
It's not that I don't totally agree that there's a tacit approval of everything the CCP does in filming in China. But what I think is she only pays attention to public disapproval.
Yeah.
She doesn't actually care about the ethics of who she works with. She cares about who will support my public image.
Also, to be fair, she might not even know. Like, I would. That's one of those things I can
don't
actually
expect
buy
her
her
to
not
either.
even know.
Yeah, I
Emma-
don't.
You're talking about Emma?
About Emma Watson.
Yeah, I don't expect her to. What I find annoying about it is that she believes her derivative performance of a character that was written by J.K. Rowling now belongs to her.
Oh, yeah.
That character.
They'll recast it. Like, just like Marvel recast the superheroes, all the Harry Potter characters will be recast at some point. So she's got a little bit of power now. I just hope she doesn't abuse it.
And that's the thing. Like, they don't realize that it does not exist without the author, right? And this proves to you that they do that. I think the actors now view all this stuff as IP and not as a piece of art that was created by an individual, which in itself is a far more beautiful thing to me than what happens when it becomes corporatized and part of a corporate structure. But they don't look at it that way. She just looks at it as an aspect of her career, and I think very ungrateful, especially since I always took what J.K. Rowling said as fairly measured. She got spicy later on as like a form of pushback against the people who were clearly like taking what she said to the most hyperbolic ends of saying like she believed that there's aspects of transgenderism that erase women from society, which if you watched Matt Walsh's documentary, you understand that that's a very real thing that people are asking questions about now, but you're not allowed to ask questions.
Well, I don't really care what Rowling's beliefs are, and honestly, I don't relate to her urge to be, have Twitter fingers about it. Because if I had her level of wealth, I feel like it would be smarter to just kind of slink back into the shadows and keep writing, but do it for your own fulfillment and not for merchandising and movies.
And to be fair, you're right. Like all of these people could just keep quiet and like maybe like I'm one of those people. I'm very like I'm very measured with what I say on social media just because it's never worth. To me, it's not worth. I don't want to spend 9 hours a day arguing with people who when somebody purposely misinterprets what I'm saying anyway.
That's why you do shows.
Yeah,
you got to this is the way to communicate is with your voice and your face.
Exactly.
Text is passe, man.
It's a horrible way to communicate with people. So on one hand, I say to Rowling, you get what you deserve. You make these comments. You kind of have to make your bed and lie in it as well. But at the same time, it's like you'd think that knowing somebody, however long she's known Rowling, that would have built up enough of a relationship to at least allow her to keep quiet about what Rowling said, so that she doesn't have to pick a side rather than literally just going against them.
Well, even when not being directly asked about it, she has to make
her comment.
She has to allude to it.
She's kind of made her bones as like a feminist icon
for all the witches.
Exactly.
Is that how she said it?
Yeah,
they're both annoying. I think. And what I've taken from Rowling is that she's completely supported all of this woke stuff until it butted heads with her interests.
Yeah, she very much courted this audience with the way she treated the franchise after the fact.
So I think they're both annoying.
I missed her original statement. She was saying that she was feared that it would erase women from society.
Yeah. Basically, her concept is just she said like, look, like whenever they would talk, anytime something comes up where they mention birthing person, where that gets used in like there was like an NPR thing where they mentioned birthing person, and J.K. Rowling sarcastically tweets, "There used to be a word for that." Woman?
Yeah. It doesn't sound like she's saying females in general are being erased, but that the idea of the definition of the word, she's a very literal person. She's a literary genius. She uses liturgy to communicate often, and I think she fears the definitions would be twisted.
Yeah.
And maybe have been twisted.
Yep. So you want to read the super chats?
Yes. Nathan Koss said, in Italy during the 1930s, the brown shirts would sit in on media events and news coverage to shut down discussion about specific topics. Very creepy to see it happening again.
Yep. A little bit different, I suppose, being like it's like I don't know what a third party PR person is there for. I mean, that's what was interesting about it is like Warner Brothers made that statement after the fact. But if that person was a third party host hired by Warner Brothers, likely and they interject to stop a question, there's a list of things that they're supposed to prevent people from talking about, right? So that's still a third party person on behalf of Warner Brothers. So it's interesting that they both have the question stopped in the moment and then release a press release afterwards. I could be missing something.
Because they only want to speak on things when they can control it.
Yeah, exactly. Control the narrative.
So C. Hobbit said, I've been pulled over twice. Each time was nerve-wracking, and I was constantly wondering what I did wrong. Both times were about dead brake lights. The police are just doing their jobs.
Amen to that.
Unavailable ID name said, Emma Watson would have made it eventually, but she wouldn't be as big as she is. I saw her in ballet shoes, but Harry Potter skyrocketed her.
I never saw that, so I never saw that, and most of her other stuff since then I found very lackluster. I do think she did a fair enough job as Hermione Granger, but
she was terrible when she was a kid. But most child actors are terrible.
Yeah, that's not their.
The acting was horrendous in those early movies, but I thought the guy Daniel Radcliffe was good. He was the best by far of the child
actors. Was it like
actors.
charmingly bad or just
she was like awkward. She would say things when you could tell she was saying lines, but wasn't like, I didn't believe that was a real person doing a real thing. The redhead guy, just
Rupert Grint, yeah,
miserably awkward in the early days. They became better. Emma especially became a better actor as the years went on. Daniel became a way better actor as the years went on.
He's kind of become like a Josh Hartnett type of like he very clearly likes to do the smaller, like the indie or weirder films. Like he doesn't like, because he doesn't really fit the mold of an action star. But he's also like, I don't think he likes doing the big budget stuff as much. Guns Akimbo is like the last things.
He took it really seriously, man. I don't know if he got massive amounts of training, but he took that career super seriously.
And I don't know if he does. He might do stage now too. I'm not 110% sure about that. So there's a couple more there.
Bad App said, Mary's a honeypot. She's on WeChat.
That is...
we don't talk about that.
She is very clearly a CCP spy. After all, PCC backwards is just CCP, so...
Yeah.
So
no coincidence.
And POC backwards is cop.
No! Oh my gosh. Mind blown.
Waffle Sensei, the beloved and empirical, said, there's an argument that getting movies out in China... that get through the censorship but still produce American values is a worthwhile endeavor. Disagree, because you're still trying to force American values on a country that is not favorable to them and also doesn't care. Like, they don't care about our messaging.
Well, the CCP doesn't, that's for sure. But the people, from what I hear, are basically enslaved by their government. They're occupied by the CCP. The real government of China is the Republic of China, which is based in Taiwan. That's they were pushed out by the communists in the 60s when Mao created his Cultural Revolution, and the people just put a clamp down on the Chinese people. So getting through to the people is a different story. Getting through the government, getting through the people are two different stories.
But the government controls what gets through.
Again, the government's the Republic of China.
American values shining through in our films is like...
Yeah.
A gay kiss in Lightyear, like,
which they don't show.
What are you even doing? What do we stand for then? Is that what you consider to be American values?
Yep,
I would have any depth other than self-indulgence.
I'd have to hear a good example of like a movie. I guess like if Top Gun Maverick made it out there, that might be a fair example of like a recent movie that has a little bit more of a soaring American message that about being good. It's I don't know how you'd explain it in the movie, but like working hard, at a career for as long as he did and training the next generation of these amazing pilots and stuff like that. There's good messages in that movie, but I don't know if that's necessarily, I don't even think it got released. It didn't get released in China anyways. So.
Seeing the humanity in your enemy is a good American value. Like free speech, letting people you don't agree with communicate. And
I mean, I'm not sure if Top Gun Maverick... really,
I'm trying to think of but I don't know of any American movies that come out lately that really hold that like to what we would consider classic American values.
Yeah, what's considered American values now is it's like Baymax showing a man shopping for tampons,
and we will get into that in Podlog.
We'll talk about that later, but
and there's one more for there.
Joseph said, "Young Mary, you're a bright spot for your generation. Good to see." Well, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.